Welcome back to Afin River Forum. And again, my name is Bernard Ishibante in Atlanta, Georgia. If you haven't subscribed, this is your first time here, or even if it's your third, fourth, fifth time and you haven't subscribed, please do me a favor and subscribe. Like I say all the time, you don't pay a dime, you don't pay a dollar. It's just like, when I upload a new video, you probably will be the first to get it, and or you will be notified that the new video is out there, and you don't necessarily have to watch it, right away. But you can just get it, and later on you can watch it and see what is, what I talk about. Well, but that's all it is. So please subscribe and share with friends and family, co-workers, associate, acquaintances, and everybody, and let them know how informative this forum is. And it talks about a range of issues, comprising geopolitical issue, social, cultural, economic, education. Sometimes I talk about romantic relationships. So you come here, you'll be disappointed because you get something of interest to listen to, and I make sure that everything is authentic. It's on scripted form. What that means is I don't write anything down. And the freestyle, I talk about a range of issues. In one segment, I can talk about this topic, and just combine them. And that is, it's no stretching. And but the only thing is that it's genuine, and I don't over dramatize or exaggerate anything. It's what you hear, and what you hear is the truth. And so once again, this is Bernard Shimantin, and you are joining me at Ophir River Forum. So today's topic will be about failure. Failure, like you fail, do something and you fail, and enemies. I'm going to talk about these two concepts, or these two topics: failure and enemies. So my point is, the whole thing is, what I want to tell my viewers or my audience is that there is nobility. There's something noble about failure, or failing in some venture, some endeavor. Like you trying to, make a move, or you try to start a business. You try to do anything. It can be pursue romantic relationship, marriage, or wherever, and you fail. There's nothing wrong with that. There's virtue in failure, and also enemies. The concept of enemy, like somebody's your enemy, somebody don't want you to succeed, doesn't want you to succeed, or whatever. There's a significance, if something important, in the fact that somebody doesn't want to see you succeed. The reason I'm saying that, you may think it's crazy, but think about it in philosophical terms. Not even that. Because I would say that in a lot of cases, people have succeeded in life because they fear to fail, or they have failed before, and they have learned how to improve upon their failure, and now they have achieved success, abundant success. And then too, anytime somebody is against you, somebody wish you ill, or has some negative perception, or want to bring you down, or wish you don't succeed in life, that is how you feel motivated to do best, to do something better, to share or to prove to that enemy, or that naysayers, that guess what? You don't have no control over my life. You don't have control over my destiny. You don't have control over what God has or what God has predicted, or has given given to me, that this is what I will achieve in life, or this is what I will become before I leave this world. And so my thing is, if you look at failure and enemies, they are very important component, or they form an intrinsic part of human beings. Because think about it, a lot of things we do in this world, people do. It may not be you, it may be your friends, it may be your sister, it may be your brother, it may be your husband, it may be your boyfriend, girlfriend, wherever it is. Most of the time, people do things because of the challenge the enemies throw at them. And I think as human beings, it's good to know if you have enemies, because for me, that's the best thing you can ever get. Because when you know when you know that you have enemy, that is how you feel motivated. A lot of people feel motivated that way because some people who claim that they love you or they're on your side, there's nothing to prove to them. The only people, probably the only phenomenal things that probably will motivate you or you want to prove to is those naysayers, those who think you cannot make it in life, those who think you can, everything you do, oh, this particular thing he or she is doing is not going to go nowhere. He's not going to succeed. Look, he start this, look at it. These are for these people, these are for that people. But guess what? The more you hear that, the more you know that somebody wish or somebody think you cannot make it. You want to go to this particular destination and somebody sitting somewhere and say, guess what? He ain't gonna go nowhere. He can do nothing. He doesn't have that drive. He doesn't have the means to do it. And that is how you prove to them. So for me, I think there's a reason God created human beings and create what is good, what we think is good, and what we think is bad. Because think about it. Without good, how do we know what is bad? Without bad, how do we know what is good? It's because we know what is good. That is what the same thing. If you know your enemies, and then that's how you know. That is how you know that, okay, somewhere you have good people on one side. But guess what? The good people are already supposedly in support of you. So you don't have nothing to worry about. Those people who are, you probably have to worry. You may say you don't care about your enemy, but guess what? We say that all the time, but guess what? No way that when you're doing things, in most of the case, in most times, your enemies, whether consciously or on subconscious level, you have them at the back of your mind that you know what, you scared. Like I said, you scared to fail because you think if you fail, then that will give them the room or opportunity or chance to ridicule you, to laugh at you, to see, look at it. He or she prove our point that he or she cannot succeed. And so, for me or for a lot of people, knowing that you have enemies is a good thing because guess what? It serves as a motivating factor because guess what? Because you know that there's some people who all that they're looking for is your failure. Because you're scared to fail, then that also motivates you to make sure you navigate all your moves or in life in a very good way or in a very uh, better way so that you don't fall into the trap of your enemies. It makes sense? And so that is why I'm saying that failure is a good thing. There's a virtue in failure because guess what? When you fail too in life, what does it do? If you have common sense, or if you're somebody who learns from your mistakes, that will make you better. That will make you good. It's just like you get into a bad relationship and you leave that relationship. Well, next time you meet somebody who's talking about relationship, you do what? You start thinking twice. You tend to be circumspect. You tend to be cautious. You make sure that, guess what? I made a mistake. I screwed up the first time. And this time, I'm not going to do that again. Because they say first fool is not a fool. Second fool is also not a fool. Maybe a third fool is a foolish fool. So you learn from your mistake. Once you learn from your mistake, that's how you grow. Because you don't want to fail again. So that is why I'm saying there's a virtue, there's something noble about failing in life. Because if you don't fail, most of the time you don't succeed. You get everything on a silver platter. Everything is handed to you. You have never failed in life. And a lot of times you don't know a lot of things. And there's a possibility that you can just fall into failure quickly. But when you go through failure in life, that's how you learn. In the same way, because you fear that if you fail, then your enemies will laugh at you, will ridicule you, We say all kind of stuff, negative things about you. What do? It motivates you to make sure that guess what? I am not going to go through this. I'm not saying live your life or be paranoid because somehow you get some perceived enemies or whatever. Because guess what? Enemies may be external and they can be internal. They can be living within you. Your enemies may be within you. Fear, like fear to do anything, that can also be an enemy. But the point is, either way, whatever it is, enemy is somebody who want to see you fall, want to see you down, and that is those people. I serve as motivating, and I think God has a reason He created the world the way it is. Because you see, if God is there, how come that He created? Because without that diversity, without that, meaning of differences, without that differences, where you have a choice to choose between what is good, what is bad, and that kind of stuff, the beauty of creation wouldn't be complete. And so, because we have good and bad, even within your brain, you have the negative side and the positive side, the rational part and the irrational part. Sometimes they tell me true between when you are making a decision, you want to make a decision. One side will be pulling you towards one direction, other side will be pulling. It's the same thing in life. That's how enemies do. When you want to go up, they probably want to pull you down. And the more you endure, you have that, you develop that sense of endurance and perseverance, and you say, guess what? I am not going to fail for these people to get me. Then that serves as a motivating factor. And another thing about why enemies are a good thing to know. If you know your enemies, it's better that you don't know them. It's just like you live in an area and you have a thief, somebody who steals things among you. A whole bunch, there's somebody still among you. And every day, your thing get missing, or somebody steal your thing. Somebody, steal your stuff, and you don't know that within you, among you, there's somebody who's a thief doing it, and somehow you put it on somebody else. So the point I'm making is, if you know if you know that this person is a thief, then you know how to handle the person. It's the same thing that if you know that this person, I know that he has mortal hatred for me, or this person doesn't like me, then at least it's better than knowing who doesn't like you or who don't want you to see, than everybody around you and you think everybody loves you, and then all of them, somewhere along or among them, they are your enemies, and don't know. In other words, just like a wolf in a sheep clothing, right? You see a wolf or a fox who has put a sheep clothes on it, so you know that this person is a sheep, but he's not. It's a wolf or a fox. See, the point I'm making, this analogy, the point I'm making is, it's better to know your enemies, and that's better, far better, than you don't know them. And I know everybody, there's no way as a human being you sit in this world and think that somehow everybody should love you, everybody should like you. That's insane. That doesn't even make sense in the world. It doesn't make, it make life meaningless. So for me, without enemies, life will be meaningless, because there's a reason God created, good, the good things, angels and evil, even in the world. You see that because again, we live in a world of cause and effect, right? The way everything is almost like the world, this universe we live in is a cause and effect every day. So the same way, you see, you have a good. So the reason you want to succeed is because you don't want your enemies to see you fail. So because of the fear of failure, then you want to do. It's just like cause and effect. Because this event will cause this to happen, and therefore I have to make sure that I tread with caution, with circumspect, be cautious about things. So all that I want to say this conversation with you today is that there's a virtue in failure, and also enemies. The concept of enemy is very, very significant or important part of human life. It forms, a necessary component, necessary intrinsic part of humanity or human beings, because without your enemies, most of the time, if you take 10 people, you sit 10 people there, I would say that about 7 or 6 of them want to work hard, do a lot of things because they want to prove to people, they want to prove to other people that guess what? All that you think about, and it doesn't matter what people say. I don't care about anybody, whatever. Guess what? We are all social beings. As human beings, we live. We depend on each other. We are all interdependent, one way or the other. So you may not, the person may not be taking care of you or whatever, but there's no way that we don't do things, within the context of our community, of the people around us. We don't live alone. Human beings don't live alone. We social beings. So that's why, no matter what, you may have some people, your detractors, naysayers, and whatever, and all around you, everybody. But guess what? It's a good thing. So that's what I would say. Good thing to have enemies is significant. There's a reason they exist, and God created all of them. Everything is created for good, and the enemies serve a great purpose in life. Without them, maybe life may be meaningless. If everybody loves you, everybody likes you, it doesn't make sense. It won't even make sense. It makes life boring, very, very boring. But because you get some people rise against you, some people pretend they love you, or genuinely, or not genuinely, or stab your back and this and that. All those things are very, very important. For me, as people grow and you become more mature, you realize that guess what? A lot of things you see, a lot of things you think that is against you. It's not all that bad. You know what I mean? Because it helps shape, it helps guide you in so many your decision making process, your everyday decision making process. It helps you in so many ways. So that is what I have for you. That there is virtue or something noble in failure, and also there's something significant and important in knowing or having enemy, because they make life complete, right? So that's what I have for you. Once again, this is Ofin River Forum, and my name is Bernard Ishibante, and I'll talk to you another time. Have a good day. Send me your comments and everything, and we'll have a conversation. What do you think? Have a good day.